Erev Tov, everyone. Are too early for anyone to make any reasonable comments about the situation that we find ourselves in now. I think the only thing that we can say is really something that we learned in this week's Parsha, Bereshis. There's a wonderful sefer from the Piatzner Rebbe, the Zeichet Tzadik Levracha, who was killed in the Shoah. He has a sefer called Nesivas Shalom. Really is a masterpiece. And in his discussion of Parshas Bereshis, he asks the question, which on the surface may appear naive, but it really goes to the heart of the matter. What is the role of the punishments that were meted out to Adam, to Chava, to the Nochash, the humankind? What purpose do they serve? So he advances an idea that the yetzer hara that exists within us is of such power that we would be unable to ever deal with it or overcome it. And that's what the Gemara says, in effect, that by the yetzer hara, B'chol yom v'yom, the yetzer hara overcomes him, and it wouldn't be Lulei HaKadosh Baruch Hu matzilo miyodo. You have to have the help of heaven somehow to be able to deal with the yetzer hara. Because once humankind was given the china chavshi, freedom of will, it's inevitable that the yetzer hara will win. Because as we saw from the pasuk in the Torah, that the yetzer das, nechmod le'enayim, it's more attractive. The yetzer hara deals with fashion, with what our eyes see. And therefore, it would always overcome us. There would be no chance for righteousness or goodness in the world. So therefore, punishments came into the world. He puts it lahamtik, to sweeten, so to speak, and to weaken the power of the yetzer hara. In essence, we're saying that if there were no consequences to our behavior, then the world would be unlivable. Life as we know it would not exist. So if, for instance, if you put your hand on an open fire and you did not feel pain, so you would do it all the time. The Rechovshis would say, I want to touch the fire. You see that from children, whose natural instinct is to touch the fire. Only when they get burned, then somehow they're able to overcome the natural instinct. So the idea of schar v'onesh, which is the basic idea in Torah, in Judaism, in Jewish life, that there are consequences for our behavior. There are individual consequences. There are national consequences. There are eternal consequences. And that we would never be able to resist the yetzer. We would never be able to rise in belief and spirituality and strength of spirit if it were not for the realization that we have that everything that we do has a consequence. And usually when we are aware of consequences, then there exists the ability to resist the yetzer. It's only when we are unaware. So there are unfortunately many things in life that we do when we're young. Most people, when they're young, are unaware of consequences. I can smoke all the cigarettes I want. I can do whatever I want. They're unaware of the consequence. If they were aware of the consequence, and perhaps they would certainly have a chance to behave differently. So introduced into the world, because of the fact that we were created with a yetzer, we're also onshim, the punishments that come along with it, the consequences, the fact that after all is said and done, there is no free lunch in this world. An account is held. And the bills are always paid. We don't know how and why and by what method, but that's a basic tenet of life, is that everything we do is consequential. How we talk, how we relate to others, how we tolerate others, what is the relationship we have to Shemayim, what is the relationship we have to the past, what do we want for the future. The problem is that these things are rarely discussed. Therefore, they're not really thought about as they should be. So the Ribono Shel Olam sends us stark messages to remind us. And we are passing through such a time now. We pray and hope for the best. The price already has been enormous. Who would have imagined such a thing? And it's only beginning. And our main task is to remain strong and firm and not to panic and not to say rumors, not to be childish. To deal with the situation as best we can, to have faith in the Ribono Shel Olam, and to pray for the welfare of our young men who will certainly, Rahman al-Islam, have to pay a price for all of this. So we have to think about that when the yetzer attacks us, as it always does, and we want to get angry, and we want to say something, should think that there are consequences. We should think that there's schar v'onesh. It's not happening in a vacuum. And that is one of the basic lessons that we learn from the mysterious story of Adam Rishon and Chava, is that the Onshim came